Hey everybody, Sean here from the Black Page, and part 2 of our installment with Murray Creed and Jayson Brinkworth, 2 of my best friends, and of course 2 Black Page contributors are very, very important contributors. This month we're going to talk about if you're wanting to start a festival, a music festival, a drum festival, maybe it's a drum day, something to help inspire your students, or perhaps put on a drum clinic. We did a Zorro clinic not too long ago with Black Page. So there's, a few tips and tricks and some stuff to know before you go ahead with that, because if you don't, it could be a whole world of hurt. And if just want you to travel the right path so it's a successful venture. So we'll start here, fellas. Both of you guys, incidentally, have hosted events, or are going to host an event. At this time, Murray's putting on a Kenny Aronoff clinic. It's by now it's already happened, but he's in the planning stages right now. And Jayson, you actually had a clinic with Kenny, and you also had him at your festival one year. When you're contacting a big cat, well, let's call them big cats, the initial contact. I know how I prefer to do it, but let's get Jay's opinion first. Making contact. What's the best way to go about that for you?
I'm kind of fearless and a bit naive about it, but I think it works to my advantage. Anyway, there's been guys I've contacted on Twitter, Facebook. Email through their website, through industry. I try not to use industry very much. I try to do it on my own. Industry is sort of a last resort for me because I don't want to. They have other things to worry about other than me getting them to find a player. If I can't find them on my own, then I just need to try harder. And if they say no at first, that doesn't mean no. It means just try harder. So no, a lot of them is just a lot of emails through their personal website. If they have a personal website and they have a contact on there, they want to be employed. They want to be hired. They do this, right? So. Some have been fluke, and now it's getting to the point now where the players don't solely take care of it, but they will pass it along to others and and recommend it, or say, hey, get a hold of this guy. So now I'm starting to see that people are actually getting a hold of me and asking about the camp or asking about the festival or something. So that's kind of what I thought may roll around, and now it's sort of starting to. So but I've still one of the guys I'm just waiting to confirm on was a message on Twitter saying, hey man, I'm busy on the 28th of September. And he wrote back and I was like, all right. So
same quite, and for you, Murray, I'm saying your festival, you've had quite a few big names on the bill. Your preferred method of making that initial contact?
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of times when I've seen drummers, like I've gone out for the last couple of years to the Montreal Drum Festival, and I've seen amazing players play, and I've just kind of been lucky enough to be in the right circles where I've got to meet these players, and I talk to them, I tell them about the festival, love to have you out sometime at the festival, that kind of thing, and then I just track them down, and I've already made that initial contact with them. So far, almost every person that I've had at the festival I've actually met, and then invited them to come. There are a lot of drummers out there that would love to come and play a festival. And sometimes you don't know who you're going to get as far as personality is concerned. And I think that that's a really big aspect to what I want to do for my festival, is that I want to have people come to Victoria to play the festival that I actually want to hang out with. That I want to spend time with. That are great people, persons, I don't know. Person, people, I don't know, whatever. Drummers. Case in point, Scott Pilgrim. Right? You had Scott to your festival. I had him to mine. This guy is absolutely amazing. Right? He's an incredible drummer and an even nicer person. That was the kind of vibe I picked up from him when I saw him in Montreal, and I went, I got to have that guy at my festival. Same idea. Contacted him through Facebook. He got back to me. Said I would love to do it. Dom Famulero, of course. I mean, I like to think of him as my mentor, and so for me to contact him is like that's an easy call, and the other players that I've brought in have been through mutual associations, other drummers I know, and like you said, sometimes through industry, right? Where a company that I work with, for instance, might say, hey, why don't we send so and so out? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. So there's a lot of different avenues of getting the artists for the things. The Kenny Arnoff thing that is happening for me just next weekend was something that Yamaha Drums contacted me and said, hey, would you like to put on a clinic? And I said, they said with Kenny Arnoff, and I said absolutely. They said, oh, by the way, it's on BC Day long weekend, so it's like the middle of summer on a long weekend. And I said, I don't care, it's Kenny Arnoff.
Yeah, exactly.
People love Kenny Arnoff. I said, I'd be happy, I'd be proud, be pleased and proud to put on a clinic like that. So sometimes the companies reach out to us, and sometimes it's tracking down those artists.
Yeah.
And we should note too, a note to the readers, both Jayson and Murray are Yamaha endorsers. And when they approach a company, it's a little different than if you don't have an endorsement. They have friends in the company, and there's people they know who they can ask, they know they know the boundaries they can push a little bit. I don't recommend contacting a company first. Contact your artist first. Yeah. If you don't know anyone in the company, chances are you may not get responded to, and it's not because they're being rude or just, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get. And a company's not your good first, unless you're an endorser. Then you know the channels through which you can kind of sail those seas. That's a whole other article.
Exactly.
But that's why I say that, because both fellas are endorsers of Yamaha, and it's cool. They know who to talk to. And I find myself even too, like you said, Jayson, and we've talked about some of the interviews that I've landed, or the people I've ended up taking lessons with, or people you've landed, or people. It's just being fearless. It's just, I mean, when I asked Zorro, I walked up to him at Basic, and I mean, my throat was dry and my hands were shaking. He was talking to Gad at the time, and I knew Gad wasn't going to come, so it was going to be Zorro.
I would have asked Gad first.
Yeah,
that's how dumb I am.
Yeah, no, and you're probably more fearless than I am.
Oh, it's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, and I've got one foot on either side all the time. That gets me through life.
Yeah. But it is important to point out, like you said too, Jayson, if you want to put on an event with someone who you consider a mentor, is you also have to consider, if you are offering it, then you're employing them, and they're open to that. They are totally open to that, which leads me into my next point. Once you've contacted said artist and you've decided you're going to put this on, this is the reality. Their fees aren't always low.
No.
More often than not, they're quite high.
Oh yes, yes.
Let's talk about
dear dollars.
Yeah, let's talk about the realities of bringing someone like that financially.
Oh yes.
This is not always a payday for us.
A payday? Are you kidding?
Yeah. This is not a payday.
The first lesson is, if you're putting on a festival, you will never make money. Lesson one: you better be doing it to inspire.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be the goal to make money.
No, not at all.
This is like, we're fortunate enough that we have jobs where we get to play drums for a living.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we go about inspiring our students and the drumming communities in our cities? Yeah. It's about putting on these events, and it's about putting on a festival. Yeah. A festival, because that's just like a multi-clinic. You're getting lots of different artists in, and everyone's going to come to this thing and have a great day. And it's all about inspiring. And I think if you think that you're going to make any money out of this, don't bother even trying, because it's going to cost you money. It costs me money every year to do it, and I'm quite happy to spend that money, because I said to it, this was in the throngs of the 2013 festival. I know how much money this is going to cost me. I know how much money I'm bringing in, and I know how much money I'm going to lose, right? And so somebody said, why do you do this? You're losing money. I said, well, I could go on a vacation, or I could put on a drum festival. And they went, that's a pretty special thing to do. Yeah. Sure, I go on vacations too. That's fine, right? But maybe I'm not going to go on that other vacation that I might have. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's about taking what you have and trying to put it out there and get people to kind of be interested in it. Yeah. And then once you've got that happening, you start developing a scene. And when you develop that scene, and people are saying, I'd like to go, play the Victoria Drum Festival. I mean, Victoria in the springtime, I mean, it's incredible, right? And so people are going to want to come to Victoria and do that. So I think that it all boils down to inspiration. And the financial part of it, it's going to cost you a bunch of money.
It's definitely, like you'd said, Jay, it's an investment into your career. It's an investment into your students.
Absolutely.
And you know, Jayson, you've just recently come off what sounds like was quite a successful Stickman drum experience.
The camp was great this year. It was our second year. It was really good. Yeah, we were really happy.
And it's kind of it's even maybe a different thing is that you're creating a camp whereby students can come and learn, but you're also bringing in guest artists. So you have a lot of personalities that you're bringing together, and a lot of shall we say. Okay, so just students, but drummers.
Yeah.
There's always that risk too of and I notice at a lot of clinics of people being fans, and you know you're not sure how the artist is going to react. And I mean, one of the things I learned, especially through a couple of guys, is that that's not for you to worry about. But it's your responsibility to host that person. Let's talk a little bit, Jay, about hosting someone who's say an acclaimed player like Rich or like some of the guys you've had. What are, you know, some of your do's and don'ts as far as, you know, making that person feel welcome? You know, to what extent do you go to make that person?
I got lucky. The whole thing started doing clinics and stuff. I started back in 2004.
Yeah.
A couple local things and stuff. But in 2006, I ventured out and was going to bring Billy Ward up to Canada. So fly him up from New York, and that was my first time doing this, and he was super patient with helping me out and stuff, and I planned on doing the clinic, this is going somewhere by the way, I planned on doing the clinic in December in Saskatchewan, which is a really smart idea, and so he flew and got to Minneapolis, and the flight got cancelled, so he had to go back. You lose money when that happens. Tried again in February. He didn't even leave New York that time, so lose a bit more money. Then we did it in April, and it actually happened that time. So I think by going through that the very first time, I learned a lot about what to do, and Billy was super patient and helpful in that. So I really learned about, you know, booking the hotels, making sure the transportation for them is covered, the cabs to and from airport, making sure that they know what they're getting paid, make sure they know, you know, what companies they deal with, what they're paying them, how the breakdown is, just making sure that there's no gray area when they get to this other country, in this foreign place they've never been to, that, you know, all of a sudden there's this confusion and it's like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't know that was supposed to go on, or wait, that's not the gear I needed, or, you know, there's a lot of little things that go into it that just, you know, and you're hosting this person that will hopefully be someone that can pass along a good word about your event, right? And you know, and you just sort of take care of them, you babysit them. And I love that part of it. I like that part as a fan of the player, but more so as a fan of, you know, just the fact that they're playing drums and you're working together to put this on.
Exactly. And you bring up a good point, Jayson, which is I found was a really interesting. I was lucky in that I've had some experience in the retail end of the world. So I knew a lot of avenues with regard to getting gear, to getting, you know, the endorsers to cough up a little dough, because endorsers will. But the reality is, in this economy, if you think that, you know, Brinkworth or Sabian or Yamaha is going to cough up thousands of dollars, you're sorely mistaken. It's an industry where they actually spend a lot of money. And one thing that a lot of drummers don't understand is how much money these companies actually put out in a fiscal year is astounding. There's a lot of stuff that goes sort of unnoticed, especially the gear, the prizes, the amount of money Sabian puts out just in prize packs alone, that is just astronomical. So expecting a lot of money from a company itself isn't a realistic goal. So let's talk a little bit about approaching the companies, approaching the players' endorsements. What's the best way to go about that?
I think you got to create relationships with all those different companies, and I think that when you put on a festival and you know these kind of, you end up, you know, crossing paths with all these different stick manufacturers and skin companies, cymbal companies, drum companies, and percussion, you know, accessory companies, and you have to kind of create that relationship so that when you call on them and ask them, hey, can you support this artist by, you know, helping out with some funding and perhaps some type of prizes or something like that. If you don't have that relationship going with that company because you asked nicely and you thank them afterwards, you know, these are things that companies will just go, yeah, you know what, let's not deal with that. Let's not help that. So it's really all about your people skills and being a positive person and letting them sort of see what it is they're going to get
Yeah.
for their thing. What are you going to do with it afterwards? Like, I know you do this, and I do the same. We videotape the performances, and we put it out there, and we promote the heck out of it because we're proud of what the event that we put on, and we want people to see that, and we want those companies to understand that we're putting their their logos out there, and we're really making them look good, and that's what they're interested in being involved with. So it's that initial positive, being the positive people person.
And that's a good point too. And both of you guys, I gotta commend when you have a company that sponsors and supports you. I mean, the signage, that's important. I mean, people think, it's just a little thing, but it's important.
It's their advertising.
Yeah,
it's their advertising budget. It's their it'd be like taking out an ad in a local paper and paying a bunch of money, and you get the back corner of something,
right?
Where you've paid for a half page of, you know what I mean? Like that's what people need to see, and the players need to be aware of that. And I look at it as a fortunate thing because I'm not in the retail side. I have no desire to be in the retail side of things for my own reasons, whatever. But there's no conflict of interest where I'm representing a product.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If the guy plays this and that's the product, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's put it out there. Let's put it in the program. Let's
Yeah.
Because that's important to the companies. If the company has wants to be involved in my event, the least I could do is pay it back, right?
Yeah. So. And I think that's something that, and I think that it is kind of the theme is that you have to be willing to give. These events aren't something you're going to get. It's a give thing.
Yeah.
It's something you're going to do for the industry to promote the industry, to promote the artists, to promote the companies, and the other thing too, and I think this is fair to say, is that you're not always going to get a yes the first time. I've had companies actually turn me down, and that's a reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that perhaps, and you know what, that's okay, and it's sometimes okay to just let it slide. That was another thing I wanted to bring up. The whole aspect of once you've got the festival and once you're dealing with these people, how important is it to not burn bridges in this industry?
I don't think that you should do that in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone industry. I mean, you can't be that type of person.
Yeah.
If you're that type of person, don't even attempt to put on an event like this and ask people for help.
Yeah. My motto in the music industry is good news travels fast, bad news travels fast. Absolutely. And it's true. It's like you say in life. It's that's how that works.
Yeah. And I think it's. I heard this one time, and I only needed to hear it the one time. Is that if you get someone at Peisty and someone at Sabian and someone at Pearl, those guys know each other.
They hang out.
Oh, sure.
They hang out at NAMM every year.
Yeah.
And they talk.
Yeah.
And it's one guy saying, "Oh man, this thing happened, and man, this guy totally hosed us up there." Yeah. Red flag.
You're done.
It's over. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's got to be positive. And it's the same thing, when you have an opportunity to meet not just an artist, but also a rep from a company.
Yeah.
They're, going to be your, partner in crime when it comes to putting this thing on.
Sure.
You need to be sort of like friends with that guy from that company as well as that drummer.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
And it's all about being positive, I think.
Yeah. But it's a business thing, right? Like, again, it's a whole business approach to going, you know what? The business gets stronger if it's treated properly, and and the industry supports itself like this. Like the three of us sitting here talking about this, and even going through the motions. It's this is just going to help the industry in our country get stronger with our collective resources.
Well, exactly, and the information, the spread of information.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's nothing worse than trying to see or than seeing someone trying to start an event and not even knowing where to start.
Yeah.
And perhaps well, and even making some mistakes that could be prevented.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I can't even fathom how many emails a company must get a day for free stuff.
It has to, though. It's got to be unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And that's why when I alluded before about getting a hold of industry for these events, I really try sparingly to not unless I absolutely need to. And I have the contacts. I've been fortunate over the years of doing this that I have contacts at almost every company to deal with on this. Yeah. But I try my best to do it on my own as much as I can. Because
I'm the same. Because you can't ask for too many favors. No. You can push and sort of say, they'll say, okay, you know what, enough favors. You're going to have to. And, you know, and it's the other side of it too. Is that like Murray said, this is about cultivating relationships. So your first kick at the can may not be a famous person. It may be your local drum master.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Murray in here in Victoria. Maybe it's Jayson in Regina. Maybe you're not at the point where you can reach out to Kenny Arnoff or to Steve Gadd. But maybe you're at the point where, you know, the hottest cat in your town, your dad's friend knows him because they're accountants. So reach out to him. You know, reach out to her. Start essentially where you can start. Not, you know, if you see, you know, I love so-and-so, or I want to put on a clinic with so-and-so, but you have no idea how to get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can often create a lot of stress and actually even sort of almost do yourself a disservice by trying to go a little bit further than you really should.
Yeah, and I think that was, for me, that was the way I started it out.
Yeah.
The very first 2010 Victoria Drum Festival, I just had a guy that happened to be, you know, was a great drummer, Ron Taller.
Yeah.
He's from Victoria originally, lives in New York.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to be here. So I based the first one on him being in town.
Yeah.
And then I just got local guys to get on the bill as well.
Yeah.
And that was the first one. And it was great. And people, you know, companies sort of saw that. They went, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't really get behind it at all, and I wasn't even expecting them to.
Yeah.
The next year, you know, we kind of grew, and we had another, you know, sort of more local drummer, Pat Stewart, right? Played with the Odds, played with Brian Adams. This guy's huge, right? He lives in this area.
Yeah.
Bring him in, right? And get some other guys. And we just kept growing it from a grassroots thing originally to, you know, now starting to be able to bring in more international and national artists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it definitely is a growth thing. And yeah, starting too big could be a disaster as far as your pocketbook and relationships that, you know, like you said, the companies talk to each other and they said, you know what, I went to Victoria and I didn't have a good time because the guy didn't know what he was doing. Well, you know what, you got to start somewhere and just sort of grow it.
Yeah, it's got to be a long-term, not a long-term plan, but it should be, you know, I know the festival that I'm doing was a 3-year business plan, and so was the camp, you know, but the one-off clinics have been going on for a long time, and that built up to, you know, getting it to where it's at now, which, you know, there's just some contacts that have been established and things like that. But I think that one of the most important things, and I think, you know I follow the mandate, I know Murray does too, you need to keep a local flavor to the event.
Absolutely.
Always. You have to. You can't look past, when you start looking past that and not having people in your own community being involved, it'll die. Yeah. It'll die. As much as you want it to be huge and be the biggest thing ever, if you let go of that idea, unfortunately, it's over.
Yeah, and there's lots of great talent.
Absolutely.
Lots of great local talent.
Absolutely.
You know, so I mean, we're very fortunate, you know, that we can draw on that. And I think that the student component to it as well, you know, having your students being involved in it in whatever capacity. We do a drum solo contest. We do a fastest drummer contest. We do all these different things where the students actually get to be on stage and perform. Right. You know, and I think that that's a really big thing. And they get I was on stage with Dom Famularo. You know, I was on stage with Mitch George. You know, like it's a really, really cool thing.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And final question, guys. This is sort of, I mean, it's important, but it's kind of more so this is once you get there, if you get to the point. And it's more so for you guys. I've never done the festival thing, but just having the one-off. But there's a component the day of the festival. I mean, the three or four guys that I know that put on festivals. Let's talk really quickly about, you got to know how to delegate, because the day of, I mean, your brain is like, it's mush, right? I mean, I can't even imagine what it feels like that day for you fellas. But the importance on that day of having your team in place, delegated, and not having to worry, other than just doing your thing. Let's talk about some pointers you can give us as far as the day of, the event's happening. What are you doing? What are you not doing? What are you not in control of?
Do you want to go first on this one?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about the drum teachers thing, organization. Yeah. If you have it organized ahead of time, there really shouldn't be anything that, you know, barring the artist has gone to the washroom when they're supposed to be on stage. Like, it should be all organized. It should be totally taken care of. It should be actually quite a comfortable situation. Having said that, I don't sleep a couple of days leading up to it. So I get, I'm lucky if I get 4 or 5 hours sleep because I wake up whatever time I wake up and I'm ready to go. I'm like, okay, have I done this? Have I done this? Yes, I've done that. Yeah. So it's about being organized. Yeah. And you don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you also have to roll with the punches. Right. If for some reason you're going 15 minutes over on that artist, you go 15 minutes over on that artist. We have gone at least an hour over on every year, maybe more. Because it's such a good time. Everyone's having such a good time that you don't want to cut it short, right? Yeah. So as long as you've done your organization ahead of time, you should be really actually able to enjoy the show. And I actually play at the show, and I know you play at your show sometimes too, right?
Yeah, mine's just for filler, I think, all the time. I just kind of...
I don't know.
It's to accommodate other people getting stuff set up, so that's why I do it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love it. Like, this was also one of the reasons I wanted to do it, because I love to do clinics. Right. I love to get up on stage and play drums, right? Yeah. And I like to, obviously, I like to do it with bands too. I play a bunch of bands, but I like to do it for drumming's sake, for drummers. Yeah. And so... this is my avenue to do that as well, is to get up on stage and actually perform at the festival. Yeah. And to be in the finale with the likes of the world-class drummers that you've brought in. To me, that's one of the reasons I like to do this as well, is just like to be involved in it. Yeah. So performing at it, as well as running the show, emceeing the show, organizing the show, if you don't have it all done ahead of time, you're going to sink. Yeah. So organization is key.
Important to have like a stage manager.
Like on my side of it, it's kind of not funny. It's not funny. With the camp, there's 4 of us involved in the business. Yeah. So it's really organized. Right. The festival is my thing, and it's getting organized. Right. I've got a really hard time with delegating and asking for help. That's one of my own pitfalls that I've realized as a person, as a human being. So, so putting on an event like a festival where people need to get places and the running around that's involved and, transport and everything, I'm getting better at it. Yeah. I was pretty good at it last year, but I'll be real good at it this year, I guarantee it. No, but you have to be. Like, last year we had 7 guys out for the festival, and that's 7 people to get to and from a hotel at a certain time. Right. That's 7 people to get to and from the airport at a certain time. Yeah. That's and you can't do that. You can't do that, right? So hopefully I get to see some of the clinics, but there's times where I'm watching and my phone will ring and it's like, oh man, that reservation we had for dinner, we got changed by a half hour, so I'm writing stuff in my book. I've got this book, every year I get a book, and by the end it's just like, it's just gross, because you're writing it, right? It's just like, oh man, that guy's thing, I gotta, there's a lot of information that goes into it. Yeah. Man, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
And I find at the end of stuff, it's just like it's like you weren't in the moment, you were just so worried about everything. It was like, I find that when I've put on events, I'm guilty of that, of not just being in that moment. You're doing so many things, you go, oh wow, it's over already. Yeah.
Well, you almost can't be. You know what I mean? Just because there's things that need to be taken care of. Yeah, right?
Yeah, you can't be an observer. You've got to be the...
Yeah, like I don't think in the 2 years of the festival, I don't think I've seen one guy's whole... clinic performance,
which is unfortunate, but
it is
the reality.
But I didn't see it because there was other things being organized and other things being taken care of that led them to have a good time. Which they'll come back and pass the word along. Right? I don't know. I know, but I'm always learning too. Like I'm always asking questions. I'm always tweaking things. I'm always trying to, make a better judgment call on stuff and just see, because I think this year there'll be more people involved so it's. It's going to be crazy. My book already is in shambles. and I'm still a couple months away.
Yeah. I was really impressed when I went to Montreal's 20th anniversary this last year. Yeah. That Ralph and Serge were actually in the audience, sitting there enjoying the show.
For the first time, probably.
I don't know if it was maybe the first time, but it was really cool.
Yeah, they have a huge staff. Like I remember years ago looking at it and going, man, look at all the people they got doing stuff.
I was amazed by the organization. When that curtain drops or whatever, a swarm of people come out and start doing stuff. And it was really impressive that I was sitting there in the crowd myself, watching this incredible drum festival, and I look over and there's Ralph. And he's just sitting there, just watching. And I went, wow, that is pretty cool. Now, you and I might not ever get to that point. We don't live in Montreal.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Vancouver, like a big city where you can kind of do that. But I don't know, kudos to them, because they deserve it. They've been at it 20 years. they deserve to be able to sit back and relax and watch their incredible.
Yeah.
So that's inspiring to me, and I would like, if I could be as lucky to do it for 20 years or more. That'd be incredible. So for me, since it's coming up, this is going to be the 5th year. So I'm rather excited about that.
And what do you? It's 2014 is the next Victoria
2014,
Fest.
In the spring.
This year we had Mitch Dort.
We had Mitch.
We had
Larnell Lewis, Michael Calco from Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right, so it was.
And next year, any hints, Murray, to next
nothing.
year?
I can't tell you. Can I tell you a word?
Okay.
No, I've got lots.
Come on, Murray. Come on, drop some names.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I still got almost a year to go. No. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a huge year because it's the 5th year. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to this year. But it's often in the fall when I actually kind of start securing the lineup. When I start going, okay, I definitely have people I've been working on for years. That I would love if they could actually say, I can do that date. You know what I mean? But that's one of the biggest aspects too, is that when you have a date and you pick that date, there's people you want to have there, but they just can't be there because they're on tour or whatever it is. So now you're like, okay, well, I may have that relationship with that person, but I can't bring them this year.
Certain people can't confirm until a month out. So if you want to wait and take a chance, then you wait, right? That's just
and that can really shoot you in the foot.
It sure can.
Because you're waiting and and then all of a sudden they say no, sorry, we can't do that. Well, you know what? That's so you've got to have a strong lineup and make sure that if one person isn't able to come, that's not going to make or break the festival.
Absolutely.
But it's it's exciting to put these things on. That's for sure, and it adds. It's definitely a labor of love. It's not something that, as we said earlier, we don't make a lot of money doing this kind of stuff. It's really purely, and if you added up how many hours you put into that festival to put that thing on, there's not a chance that you could ever. So the biggest thing is don't do it for money. Do it for the love of drumming. And
folks can check out the Victoria Drum Fest.
VictoriaDrumFest.ca.
Lineup will be announced at some point.
Yeah, sometime maybe. Well, the festival is usually in April or May, so look for.
I'll squeeze it out of him here in a couple of days.
Maybe March. Look for it. No, I'm just kidding.
So just watch Victoria.
That's right. I'm hoping in the fall we'll start dropping some names.
And Jay, you've got one coming up right away here.
Yeah, September 28, 29. Yeah. It's our third one, and it's busy. I don't know why we do a camp and a festival every year.
You're a sucker for punishment.
I know. Man, I've been that way in my life. So we're looking at staggering, possibly next year, starting to stagger the camp and the festival every second year. Do one, just because it is a lot of work. And a lot of time, and as Murray, I have a family. There's so many other things going on.
So someone can visit the Drum Fest at.
It's on my website. It's just linked through my website. I cheap out on that. So it's just, if you go to my website, JaysonBrinkworth.com, there's links to all the years we've had and some video footage and stuff. And then the 2013 event will be in there, and tickets and everything will be listed and everything. We have a hotel on board this year, which is doing a rate for people wanting to travel. So that'll be on there as well. I got to check my beat up old book on it.
Before it explodes.
The information will all be there eventually, before October.
And you can check. Actually, Black Page will be having the little link for the Regina Drum Fest. We'll be running some ads, so watch the site for that as well. Again, want to thank Murray and Jayson for joining me again today. Tweet, comment, +1. If you have some tips of your own, if you put on a festival or a drum day, let us know.
Yeah, please.
Leave.
We need all the help we can get.
Exactly.
Ralph, let us know what we can do, buddy.
Someone come out here and start working with us.
That's right.
Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you real soon.